Welcome to this video. On our previous one, where we're doing our roast for everybody, the nice big cuts and then the top round steaks. We mentioned the ratios of salt in things, and Tom's Test Kitchen did the quick age steak method. That's a 6-day process, right? And we were primarily concerned with the amount of salt in there for that example, which is about 2.7 grams of salt for every pound of meat with the fish sauce that he used. With our project, we decided, another fish sauce was 2.4 grams. We decided that we'd try about 2.5 grams of salt per pound of meat, and that's what we did in our project. With the Making Capicola, Paul B443, his Italian mom was teaching how to make capicola, and she recommended about 4 ounces of salt distributed over about 9 pounds of meat, which is about 12.5 grams of salt per pound. Now, I usually don't measure salt in grams, so I'm trying to figure out what that means because we're doing the other meat project for a group of people. And so we're going to try a quick age version and a salt version. So we have 2 questions here. The quick age steak method. So let's look at the quick age for a moment. When we're aging meat after about, 21 or 23 days, any collagen and connective tissue in the steak has been broken down pretty well, right? That's part of the reason of it. You end up with a more tender steak. Additionally, the dry aging gives it a different flavor because of the aerobic bacteria, the aerobic enzymes. So the first question we want to look at is, what really got me, is it about the sugar and salt in here, or is it actually about the fish sauce? So the brand I happen to have on hand here is a Squid brand fish sauce. But you'll notice that nice and big and bold on the label there, it does mention that anchovy extract, salt, and sugar are the only ingredients. So my big question here is anchovy extract important in that quick aging process? Because when you just smell fish sauce, I never think of putting it with beef. So that's question number 1. Is there a difference between the sugar-salt levels, or is it about the anchovy in there because it's had an aged process? So for our top 3 steaks here, by the way, these steaks are all flat iron steaks, okay? And the flat iron has this band of connective tissue in the middle of all of these steaks. So the bigger ones we're going to use for our quick aging method. Now, unlike my previous video where I said if I had it to do again, I'd put these on a rack and allow them to rest for a little while so that they could air dry a little bit before beginning the seasoning process. So that's what we've done here while I was running the math. Because fish sauce at 1.5 tablespoons per pound, right? Fish sauce, I actually had to measure that out. 1.5 tablespoons of fish sauce is about 26.62 grams of my fish sauce, which means I need 12.27 grams of fish sauce for my 7.3 ounce steak, which is so the steak is actually 209.15 grams. Okay, we use these calculations, and rather than pounds, we're working off of grams. Working with the number of 453.59 grams per pound. So for all you math people out there that are excited about that, what we did is our 26.62 grams per pound is basically 26.62 grams per 453.59 grams of meat. That's a lot of numbers thrown at you, so you non-math people are bored out of your mind right now. So we'll try and move it along. What we did is we took the size of our steak in this one, 209.15. Divide that, so the part into the whole, divide that by the a pound, which would be 453.59 grams. That gave us a percentage or ratio of how much of a pound we have here. Then we applied that same ratio to our 26.62 grams to give us 12.27 grams of fish sauce. So it's already pre-measured. We've got it in the bowl. It's ready to go. My house is now smelling of fish sauce because it's just been sitting here. So aromatic. All right. We did the same process with our salt here. This steak is 209.62 grams. We'll let you do the math on that. we want to not only account for the salt in the fish sauce, but also the sugar. Now, Tom's Test Kitchen used a 3 Crabs fish sauce, which has some MSG in it as like a soy protein isolate or something like that. So I don't do MSG. But it had 3 grams of sugar per pound of meat. The fish sauce here, the Squid brand, is much lower. It says less than 1 gram. So we're faking it till we make it to do an approximate equivalency. So we're assuming the fish sauce equivalency is 2.5 grams of salt plus 1.5 grams of sugar per pound of meat. Using all that ends up being 1.15 grams of salt and 0.69 grams of sugar for this steak. And then finally, the question is it about the salt and the sugar, or is it about having an aged or fermented item in there, such as that aged anchovy extract? Hi, buddy. My son's back from the store. So with this one, I decided to maybe try it with some miso, because I like the flavor of miso, and this might totally overpower the steak. But what we've got here, okay, so we've got child earthquake and a little child help now. So that's my son Orion you hear in the background. So with this miso, we're wondering, does it help speed age the steak to have a fermented product in there? So rather than anchovies, yum! Orion's excited about miso too. We're going to use the fermented soybeans and see if that makes a difference. So what we did is we measured out the miso. On the back here, it does say it is 18 grams per tablespoon, but it's only 680 grams of sodium. So we measured out our miso to be a fish sauce equivalent of the salt in the fish sauce, to kind of give us something to play with on that as far as a guesstimate about where to begin. So this is the Miyasaka Brewery Company, and then we're just using Martin's kosher salt for the salt there, by the way. All right, so we've got all these pre-measured. We've got our dollop in here. We did the math on this other steak, which is 170.43 gram steak, and our miso equivalency ends up being 24.51 grams of miso. It gives us about 0.9 grams of salt and 4.09 grams of sugar in that one. So we're going to season these. We're going to bag them up. We're going to give them about 3 days, and then we're going to pull them out. We're going to dry age them in the fridge.